You can easily spend like $300 or like $10,000 to lift the same Jeep. And I've seen many at both ends walk away 100% sure that they made the right call. Money isn't the difference. The difference is whether they knew what they were actually buying or just bought a price that sounded right and didn't put much thought into it. A lift isn't one thing, it's a ladder. Every step solves a different problem and drags a different bill behind it that seems to get missed every time you check out. Most people want to climb too high for the driving that they actually do. Some might not climb high enough for the tire that they just bought. But either way, you could be about to spend more money than you originally anticipated. You already picked your tire. We covered that last week. This is the part where you figure out what actually holds everything up without buying a stack of problems that you weren't expecting. So today, I'm going to break down a few different ways you can lift your Jeep JL or JT Gladiator. And stay with me, because the answer you think is yours might not be the one you actually need. Let's start with the spacer. A spacer is exactly what it sounds like. A puck, it's metal, polyurethane that sits on top of the coil spring and lifts your Jeep up. That's it. Couple $100, maybe $500 with a decent shock extension thrown in, and boom. You got room for that bigger tire without cutting your fenders or spending real money. The honest pitch besides the price is that you mostly get to keep the ride quality that you already have. That factory coil is still under there, it's under the same rate, it soaks up the bumps, and it really hasn't changed. Because you didn't touch the part of the Jeep that gives it its feel. And if you like how that rode before, you're probably gonna like how it rides after. Mostly, that is. That mostly is the part that I want you to hear. When you throw a bigger, heavier tire and wheel on, you're adding unsprung weight. That's the weight hanging out on each corner of the suspension that it has to control every time you hit a bump. Your factory shock and coil were tuned to control the factory tire up and back down. Now, you're doing the same job against something a lot heavier. So over chopped or washboard roads, that suspension is working a lot harder than it used to. And it feels a bit different than stock. It's there, but I'll be straight with you. Most guys don't really find it dramatic, and it's a trade-off, not necessarily a problem. Now here's what you actually spend your attention on as a buyer. Not all spacer kits are the same, and the cheap ones skip the stuff that matters. A good kit gives you that shock extension, so your factory shock isn't hanging out at the end of the travel the second you lift it. It sorts your bump stops so the suspension cycles correctly. And depending on your setup, you might need a brake line drop bracket or a sway bar end link. That right there is the difference between a spacer kit someone just threw in a box and slapped a sticker on it. So for you, it might be worth spending a few extra bucks. One more thing though before you buy, and this is the one that decides whether a spacer is smart money or wasted money. A spacer only lifts you, which means it can be helpful if you're trying to level out the front or rear of your Jeep, but it doesn't add any suspension travel. Your travel is capped by your factory shocks. So if the reason you're lifting is more flex, to work harder off-road, to get more out of your suspension, a spacer isn't going to do any of that for you. It's buying you tire clearance, which is a fine thing to buy. And if that's what you actually need, just know the problem you're solving. Because a spacer aimed at the wrong problem is $300 that doesn't fix the thing that is actually bugging you. And that spacer also has a ceiling. Most top out around 2.5 inches because stacking much more than that, in my opinion, gets kind of sketchy and it's going to make your ride feel a little weird. Under 2 inches or so, you're inside that window the Jeep can handle without correcting anything underneath it. Right at that ceiling is where everything starts to change. Next, let's talk about springs and shocks instead of that puck. Now, you're actually pulling the factory coil out and putting in a real lift spring with a shock built for it. Costs more, but you're buying more than just height. You're getting some travel, some performance. The suspension is actually doing something instead of just sitting taller. There's even a budget version for this. A mild leveling, 1-2 inch spring with a matched pair of shocks. Gets you what the spacer does, but as a real suspension. And in most cases, it's not for much more money. If you can stretch to it, it's usually a better buy than a spacer. And this is where brands start separating themselves. So pay attention, because this is where money either gets wasted or potentially saved. A good company matches the spring and the shock. They valve the shock to work with the rate of the exact coil or vice versa. So the two parts work together instead of fighting each other. I've run shocks that were way too stiff for how soft the coil was, and something just feels off. You can't always put your finger on it, but you feel it. I've also run it the other way too. shock fighting a stiff spring, same kind of deal. Either way, you're probably not going to love it. When those two things are matched, the Jeep feels right, and you stop thinking about it. Just off the top of my head, companies like Evo Manufacturing, Synergy, Clayton, they put the R&D in. Spring rate and valving built to live together. It doesn't mean that other companies don't, but the ones that don't hand you a stiffer spring, call it a lift, and hope it's going to deliver you some performance. There's one more thing under that spring that you need to understand before you spend, because it changes how the Jeep feels more than any brand on the box does. Some springs come linear, dual rate or triple rate. Linear is one rate through the whole thing. Compress it an inch, compress it 6, it pushes back the same. Dual and triple rates are supposed to give you a soft first stage for that small stuff, little bumps, and then ramp up stiffer, deeper in the travel, so you don't bottom out hard. And look, it sounds great on paper. And I'll just be honest, I've always ran linear, and here's why. Go look at people running dual and triple rate springs on an actually built Jeep. A lot of the time, that soft stage, the tender spring, the whole reason they paid for a multi-rate setup has already collapsed itself under the weight of the Jeep just sitting in the driveway. It's crushed down before they hit a single bump. So you're not riding on the plus stage that they paid for. They're already down to the stiff rate all the time. They bought a multi-stage spring, and their own Jeep's weight ate the part that's supposed to make the Jeep feel nice. Linear doesn't do that. It's one rate, it does the same thing every time. And I always know what the suspension is going to do, no matter what the terrain throws at me. Look, that's just my preference. It's not a law. And sure, there are plenty of guys running dual rates that are dialed in right for their weight, and it works for them. But out of everything that I've actually seen on real Jeeps, it's led me to a linear spring rate. But let me know in the comments what you prefer, because I'm guessing there's going to be a bunch of different answers. Now, the buyer's question that saves you the most pain in this entire tier. Ask what the kit actually includes to correct your geometry, not just what it includes to lift the Jeep. This is where the idea of a system comes into play, because there's a lot of these spring and shock kits that give you every part you need to go up and none of the parts that you need to actually fix what's about to go wrong. Or they give you more parts than you actually need and cause you spending unnecessary money. If the answer is just spring and shocks and you're headed past 2 inches, you've got a second shopping trip coming with a price tag that was never mentioned. And trust me, it's better to know that now than after the boxes show up and the Jeep's all torn apart. And this is the thing that trips everybody up. The same spring lands differently depending on which Jeep you bolted onto. In a lot of cases, a company sells a 2.5-inch spring designed for a Rubicon. So put it on a Rubicon and you get about 2.5. Put that exact same spring on a Sport and you get 3.5, maybe 4. Same part, different outcome. And look, nobody's lying to you. The Sport just started lower with the same chassis more or less. And hey, it sure makes it sound like the Sport guy got a better deal, more lift out of the same spring. But hold on to that, because right about here is when that Jeep starts sending you that bill. Now we're into a full system, and this is a totally different animal. Everything up to this point, you were working inside what the Jeep already is. Once you cross about 2 inches, that stops being true. And this is where most of the money and most of the regret lives. I was on a run years ago talking with one of the lead engineers of the JL program. Guy went to Dynatrack after, I can't remember his name for the life of me. But he told me straight up, 2 inches on a Rubicon is about the line. Under that, the Jeep still lives in the window that it was designed to live in. Your caster is generally fine, steering is fine. You're not chasing corrections. That one conversation reframed how I look at every lift since. Push past 2.5 and the Jeep starts asking for things. A track bar or a bracket to recenter your axle, because as you probably know, when you lift a solid axle Jeep, the axle shifts to one side or the other based on the length or the position of that track bar. Your tires are no longer sitting square in the fender, which isn't a huge deal because the axle moves side to side as your suspension cycles anyway, but you want to be close to the middle so that everything still lines up correctly. Next, it's going to want lower control arms to set that caster back to where it belongs. And caster matters a lot more than it sounds. If it's off, your steering either goes light, flighty, wandery on the highway, that kind of feeling where you're always making tiny corrections just to get it to stay in the lane. And too much can bind up your drive shaft and make your steering wheel feel like heavy and tight. Now, let me save you some real money, because the industry loves to sell all of it. For example, you do not need all 8 control arms. You hear control arm kit, and then you're picturing $2 grand replacing every arm on the Jeep. You can do that. There's no harm in that other than cost. But to get the Jeep driving right, a set of adjustable lower front control arms will dial in your caster, and then a set of upper rears will set that rear pinion angle so that your rear drive shaft is happy. That's really enough to get you dialed in most cases. The other four are nice to have, don't get me wrong. Added strength at different points, the ability to move your axle in and out, but the reality is they're nice to have, but not need to have. Buying all 8 when your setup needed to is one of the most common ways people overspend on a lift. And remember, nobody at that counter is going to talk you down to a smaller lift or buying less parts. Now, let's do this thing. Let's get big, cross 3.5. And the Jeep isn't asking anymore, it's telling you. Now you're into drive shafts, correcting every angle, the full geometry conversation. And the bump stops become their own real decision up there. Not a footnote, because how big that tire is that you cram into the fender is how much up travel you're going to give away to clear it. Some kits hand you a bump stop extension, some give you a whole different bump stop, and some really send you toward a hydraulic bump stop. That choice right there is how much of your suspension you actually get to use. This is important to protect other parts of your Jeep as well that you don't want to break, but you should also dial it in just so that you can maximize your up travel, or else you're kind of wasting all that suspension you just bought. So a lot of people didn't just buy a kit. They bought the first item on a list that they didn't even know existed. Track bar, then arms and drive shafts and so on and so forth. Each one possibly a surprise, and each one few $100, maybe $1,000, but seriously, that all adds up. And that's why the price that you're seeing might actually be lying to you. By the way, tell me in the comments if you actually want me to break down exactly how much lift your Jeep needs. Anyway, time for the top end stuff. Coil-overs and custom work. This is where it gets fun. But first, let me save you some of your money before I say another word. If you daily drive your Jeep, run mild, maybe moderate trails, crawl slow and easy, you probably don't need what I'm about to describe. And spending that money here will not make your Jeep feel better on the road. This tier pays off for one kind of driver, and I'll tell you exactly which one that is, so you can opt yourself out right now if it's not you. First off, this is what I run, and I'm going to be honest with you why. Coil-over lets you dial in your ride. The height, your own spring rates, top and bottom to truly match how your Jeep feels. I run the Evo bolt-on set, and I've been really happy with it for years. And I've also set my own rates. I've tested it, I've come back, made changes, and I've been able to do this based on how I want to drive and how much weight I actually carry. So what you get here is more usable travel and real comfort when you're moving quickly across dirt. Potentially whooped out roads, stuff like that. Slow rock crawling, I'll be honest with you, in most cases, you don't get a ton out of it beyond the extra wheel travel and a simpler setup, which is definitely useful. But if you like to move or you're covering ground at any real speed off-road, a coil-over earns its money and earns it fast. And this next part is what nobody really thinks about. And it's actually what matters to your wallet over the long haul. They're rebuildable. When they fade, and trust me, everything's gonna fade eventually, you pull them out, clean them up, re-oil, rebuild them, throw them back in, and you're back at it for a fraction of buying what they were new. A blown out sealed shock is probably just a trip to buy another shock. Run your Jeep hard enough for years and the math will work itself out in your favor. Past coilovers, you really get into full custom things, weld-on stuff, trailing arm systems, real fabrication. And that's a hole that has no bottom, and people will take it exactly as far as they want to. Different conversation, whole different budget. So here's the part that ties it all together. The skill was never buying the most suspension. It's knowing which setup actually is yours. And it comes down to one number that most people watching this can't tell me off the top of their head. Not your trim, your weight. What your Jeep weighs loaded, the way you actually pull out of the driveway, fuel, water, gear, armor, all of it, it matters. Because an armored up Sport and a stripped down Rubicon can need completely opposite springs. Even though the badge on the Sport says it should be lighter, the load matters more than the trim. Heavy Jeeps on light springs are gonna squat down and you lose all that lift you paid for. And a light Jeep on a heavy spring is gonna ride tall and it probably gains more than you wanted. And now you've dragged yourself deeper into that geometry correction. And along with it, you probably got a stiffer ride than you were hoping for. Weight decides where you actually land. Trim, honestly, just decides where you started. The real question you should be asking when you look into a suspension company isn't What fits my Rubicon? It's, here's what my Jeep weighs loaded, and here's what I do, and what should I run? And watch how they answer that, because that answer is your filter. If they can't do anything with your weight or how you use your Jeep, and all they want is your trim and your desired inches, that tells you how much thought went into their kit. The companies that actually engineered a system are interested in your loaded weight. They want to understand what you actually use your Jeep for. This doesn't mean they necessarily have a specific kit for every scenario, but they likely have a recommendation based on those factors and a proper solution for you. The ones that box up a spring and they just want your trim, that one question helps sort them out for you. And that's absolutely why, when somebody's getting close to pulling the trigger, I always point them to my friend Jeremy at Disciple Off-Road in Visalia, California. Not to upsell them into more than what they need, it's actually the opposite. To get it matched right the first time, so they plan it once instead of paying for it twice. And trust me, I've made that expensive kind of mistake, and I'd rather you didn't. And that is exactly why I put together the Jeep Cost Control Playbook. It's a free resource that I built to help you think through these decisions before the money leaves your account, not after. We talk about suspension and everything else on your rig. It's linked below. Free like always. If this video saved you from a mistake, that book will save you from a handful more. Now that you made it this far, you're not shopping for inches anymore. You're matching a system to how you actually use your Jeep. Once you see it that way, you stop overbuying and you stop underbuying. And you start spending money only where it closes the gap between where your Jeep is now and where you need it to be. Drop me a comment below and tell me where you landed. Spacer, springs, full system, coilovers, and whether you'd make that same call again. I'm curious what people settle on versus what they wish they'd done, because that gap is where the real lessons are. Now, if you want to see where this actually starts, the reason why so many of us overspend chasing a Jeep we actually didn't need, go watch this one next. It's the lie the whole off-road world runs on. And I fell for it for years. Thanks for stopping by, Roam Nation. I'll see you on the next one.